The streets are full of sorrow, with people expressing solidarity with the black community on racial justice. I'm actually showing you right now some pre-recorded gameplay footage from Streets of Rage 4. Now, at Oasis Gaming, we don't advocate violence on this channel towards police or anyone. It's particularly therapeutic, though, right now for us to be playing a game that features so many black heroes fighting crime and cleaning up the streets. The stage I'm playing is one where corrupt police have locked you up and you have to escape the precinct and get through this army of crooked and corrupt cops and criminals. Now, I'm not playing this game right now because what you will be hearing is much more important than the gameplay you'll be seeing. There's already a lot of content online right now about how much pain we're all feeling. I'd like to discuss some real solutions to the problems that are out there. And to help us with that, we have a guest on the program today. Our guest is a community activist. He's a leader in his community. He's active with his church. He's active with his band. He's active with local schools. And he's a mathematician, a true numbers whiz. Our guest is DatBoyArt. Art, thank you very much for being with us today to help us out.
Howdy. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
So, Art, I wanted to talk today about solutions to the issues that we're facing right now. And other than a lot of this introductory stuff I'm doing right now, I'm here as an ally to listen and to follow the leadership of the black community here. So I really hope that you can lead this discussion, and I want to take this opportunity to listen and open my ears and heart to how we can support the community right now in what's needed.
The real issue we need is change. So marching is great. There's been a lot of actual activity where policy's getting passed, but that's what needs to continue. We see our politicians making statements and taking knees, and that's great. Optics are great, especially for an issue like this. Visibility is great. Companies saying what they're saying Black Lives Matter is fantastic. And now we need to keep that same energy and go to the next step, which would be actual reform.
Honestly, Art, I'm still worried that we might not pass meaningful reform. We might not make meaningful change, that this might just go away in a few weeks. And that's my biggest fear, that we don't have something meaningful come out of this.
It makes me think of Kennedy, right? When he gave the speech, he says, we do these things not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
Yeah.
And I feel like as Americans, that's something that we all we believe the country's supposed to stand for. We believe that's the kind of resolve that we have. So this is going to be a real test. Just imagine that, all the worries, and if you're a non-person of color, especially right now, right, you can close your eyes and imagine all your deepest fears, and all the small fears that you have, right? So you're worried about, how you're going to get a promotion at your job. You're worried about, are you going to find love? You're worried about, if you have a kid, will they grow up right? And now on top of that, add the idea of an existential threat. That even if you're doing these things correctly, you might be killed, and that people might justify your killing. So every time that you see a person of color laughing or, enjoying life, just remember that is a thing that we have going on. It's like how computers have programs that run in the background. Your iPhone is tracking whatever kind of data. We're always aware that this is a thing, and that allies and enemies look the same sometimes when you're at work. So this is always an idea that we're worried about. So it is an amazing miracle that we're able to be happy and lead happy lives.
Great.
I promised you
I'll never look at a cell phone the same way again.
There's accountability. I guess, would be the biggest thing. That's kind of a broad umbrella. But under that umbrella of accountability, there's, making sure that people are accountable for what they do. You're not wearing your body cam, then you probably shouldn't be a police officer. If police are acting out of fear, then maybe they shouldn't also be a police officer, because you're trained, and an unarmed person isn't always I don't know. There are times where police should be afraid, and they should. I get that. But a lot of times we're seeing these instances where people are being shot, or just not even shot. We saw a guy get choked to death for 9 minutes.
And the hurtful thing is that they're not armed. So
yeah,
what was the thing to be so
subdued.
afraid of if we didn't even see a weapon?
And we saw that with this case. We saw a guy get choked to death in handcuffs, being held on his legs and his waist by 2 people, and with a knee on his neck by another person for 9 minutes, calling out for help, and asking for mercy, and being killed. And it still took days to arrest this officer, which shows our justice system needs some work. And a bigger thing is, we saw what happened, and there's literally an argument to be made saying, well, you can't prove that he had intent to kill him. I don't know if this was reversed, I do not think that we would have this conversation at all. I think the tapes and the names would have been released immediately, and we would all know, it'd be a foregone conclusion what would happen to that person. But even with this, all 4 of those officers got arrested now, but convictions would be something that we are shooting for. We would hope they get convicted, but again, the reason we say Black Lives Matter is because we don't even know.
Because too often we don't get the convictions.
Exactly. I mean, Freddie Gray gets arrested for being an activist, I guess, and gets thrown into the back of a police van and dies from a neck injury, and that police officer got acquitted. It's just bizarre, and so often if we do see any kind of disciplinary action, those officers leave that department and go work at another one. So a police registry would be another helpful thing. I mean, we can do it for sex offenders. We do it for people that work at banks that make a mistake with people's money. You have a record of U4. So if you have something like that, we track it. I also think disbanding police unions, I don't know how popular this idea would be, but I don't think police should have a union. And if they do, unions should have to pay these settlements that happen. Because honestly, if you're a person of color and you're tired of seeing your people get killed, it's extra insulting to realize that when they do that to your community, you are paying that bill. So you're killing us, and then we're paying for that bill. When the city could easily spend that money doing more training, or could ask the union to pay for it. I mean, our military can't unionize. And that's the reason that they can't, because they have to be held. And with the police union, that's who they call first. I mean, Amber Geiger kills Botham Jean in his apartment, and they call the union reps and all that stuff before they call anyone else.
Art, there's a proposed legislation out there calling for reform. It's called the Justice and Policing Act. It's trying to do a number of things to change what's going on out there, such as making chokeholds illegal, requiring independent investigation of police, reeling in some of the protections legal protections that police enjoy, and redefining what it would mean for use of force cases instead of reasonable to necessary, in order to hopefully get more indictments when there are excessive uses of force, and to try to bring about some more justice here. Do you think that would be helpful? Is there anything that's missing here? Do you think there's any more that needs to be done than this? Would this be something the community would help the community heal? What do you think of that?
I think those are good things. Some of those I feel like are kind of redundancies, but there are parts in that are good, like the bullet point about banning chokeholds and cardioid holds. To me, it's good to have that language there. But with this recent case, that chokehold was not an authorized chokehold anyway. Same with Eric Garner. But in that bullet point, it says no knock warrants at the federal level, and it limits the transfer of military grade equipment. I think both of those are great points.
Yeah.
I like the mandate for the dash cams, and one of the biggest bullet points I think is the having community involvement, basically to have independent oversight. So when something happens, there's independent folks to do that. Because if those cases don't make it to the next level, then they'll never go to court.
Yeah, we can't even get an indictment. We need to get the indictment for it to even go to trial. We can't even get an indictment from a grand jury.
That's it. So, voting is important. It's hard to see that in times like this, but voting is definitely important too. Because if you make sure that you have a district attorney in there that's not pushing petty charges and things like that to go to court, but will actually go to bat for you and your community when a police officer does something that they're not supposed to do, those are the people that you want in office. You want leaders that will hold people accountable. There are systemic issues with racism. There are institutional racist systems that we have in America. School to prison pipeline is real, but that doesn't mean that every teacher is racist. So you don't have to be a racist actor to perpetuate that. Redlining was the thing, but that doesn't mean every underwriter at the bank was racist, but they participated in that system. Just like every police officer is probably not racist. But they're in a system that perpetuates that. These are all things that happen. So you don't have to be a racist actor in these. What we're asking for is the same thing that we would ask for and did ask for and got reform, and the two things I spoke about before. There's works to make schools more diverse and to make sure that teachers can understand these things. And it's a work in progress, but we hold them accountable when things happen. With banks, it's the same way. You have, a Community Reinvestment Act. You have how you treat LMI families, low to moderate income families. You have to make sure you serve every community if you're going to be in that community. We have these things to hold them accountable and these action items to make sure they're the same going forward. And we don't have that yet for police. They say if we make this the way that I'm saying for police, if we're making them accountable, nobody's going to want to be a police officer. And to that, I would just respond good, because it seems idiotic to make the argument that if you don't let us have people here that can kill you and get away with it, nobody's going to want to do it. Like, I think we should all take a minute. Anytime somebody makes the argument of, well, if you do all this police reform, nobody's going to want to be a cop. Because it's asinine to say to someone, let us keep killing you.
Art, there's a lot of people who won't join the military because they don't trust that the leadership would send them to do the right thing. There are people who won't join police forces for the same reason, that they don't trust leadership and policy. I believe that if you improve on those things, people could feel more proud to serve.
I agree.
I hope that you can be well, because we need your leadership. You've got a friend here, and you've got many friends here at Oasis Gaming. Thanks so much for being here. And with that, I just want to tell the audience, thank you for watching this. Thank you for listening. If you're a gamer who thinks that Black Lives Matter, you're in the right place. I'm Tsunami with Oasis Gaming. I want to thank my guest, DatBoyArt. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.